call the veterans to the panel table, please. Adam Kokesh, Jeff Millard, Mark Wilkinson, Thomas Inono, and Mark Lebowitz. Adam, we'll start with you.
Thank you for allowing us to testify as a group to portray the challenges that people within the military speaking out face, especially as members of Iraq Veterans Against the War. My name is Adam Kokesh, and I serve as a sergeant on a Marine Corps Civil Affairs team in the Fallujah area. I now serve as a member of the board of directors of Iraq Veterans Against the War. Since our founding in the fall of 2004, IVAW has called for three things: the immediate withdrawal of all occupying forces from Iraq, full benefits for returning veterans, and reparations for the Iraqi people. We have over 1,000 members in 43 chapters in 48 states, in Germany, in Canada, and in Iraq. We have members on active duty, in the reserves, in the Guard, and in every branch of service. We're the only global war on terror veterans organization that requires proof of service for membership. We take it as our duty to speak out and to cut through the lies, spin, and propaganda that are being used to manipulate society into supporting a war that is not in our best interests as a nation. If America could see what the boots on the ground really thought of this occupation, it would not continue for another day. We are an organization of whistleblowers. And like the other whistleblowers you will hear from today and have heard from, we face many of the same challenges, but also a set of challenges that are unique to the military, because the military has a distinct power over service members. I joined the Marines for the challenges, so harassment was part of the bargain for me, but I never expected it to come for political reasons. When service members are in a combat environment, risking our lives on a regular basis becomes part of the bargain as well. The possibility of harassment becoming a matter of life or death has always been very effective in silencing dissent. Some military whistleblowers are trying to get accountability for a specific incident or to correct a particular injustice. Some of us are simply trying to tell our stories and portray things to us that are all too commonplace. The only people that do not support whistleblowers are the ones who are up to something. That we have faced the challenge that we have as members of Iraq Veterans Against the War to tell our stories is a testament to the fact that someone is up to something in Iraq. Not only is the occupation immoral, illegal, and bad for America, it is fundamentally corrupt, and those that are benefiting from it do not want Americans to understand that reality. While some service members who come to this conclusion face legal consequences for resisting their direct participation in the occupation, some of us have faced unjust consequences for exercising the rights that are supposed to be guaranteed to us not just in the First Amendment of the Constitution, but under military law as well. Today you will hear from 4 members of Iraq Veterans Against the War who have experienced retaliatory harassment for exercising their rights in keeping with their consciences and while honoring their oaths to support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Jeff Millard served with the New York Army National Guard for 9 years, including a year in Tikrit. After coming home from Iraq and attending an anti-war event, he was made to fear for his life from his command. Mark Wilkinson served in Tikrit and Samara with the 401st Military Police Company.
2 minutes.
When he came home, he decided to apply for conscientious objector status, but was threatened and harassed in such a way that he had no choice but to go AWOL when his application was denied. Thomas J. Buonomo graduated from the U.S. Air Force Academy with a degree in political science and Middle East studies and a minor in Arabic, then volunteered to cross-commission into the Army in order to support our ground forces. Shortly after qualifying as a military intelligence officer, his security clearance was suspended, and he was involuntarily discharged for expressing views contrary to the administration. We will also be joined today by attorney Mike Leibowitz, who served in Iraq as a paratrooper with the elite Pathfinder Company of the 101st Airborne Division, and is currently a JAG captain with the Virginia Army National Guard, where he serves as the defense counsel for the 29th Infantry Division. Together, our testimony will make it clear that it is essential that the NoFEAR Act 2 includes language that truly holds military retaliators accountable and serves as a deterrent for harassment. In addition to our oral statements, we will be submitting substantiating legal documents for the tribunal's records. In my case, I was a member of the inactive reserves when I joined Iraq Veterans Against the War and participated in a guerrilla street theater action called Operation First Casualty. It was called that because it has long been said that the first casualty of war is the truth. And we wanted to bring some of the truth of what was going on in Iraq home to the American people in the form of a mock combat patrol through the streets of Washington, D.C. Knowing that the Uniform Code of Military Justice does not apply to members of the inactive reserves, I knew that I was within my rights to wear certain uniform items in the execution of the street theater because I was not representing myself as a member of the military. In addition to removing rank insignia and name tapes, our squad was surrounded by volunteers distributing flyers that described exactly who we were and what we were doing. My picture appeared in the Washington Post with my name and their coverage of the event, and I soon received an email of warning from Major John R. White of the Marine Corps Mobilization Command, who identified himself as my investigating officer and said, as a member of the reserve component until 18 June 2007, the law restricts your wearing of the uniform at certain events. Please call me or reply to this email acknowledging your understanding of your obligations and responsibilities. I replied by saying that he was wrong to investigate the political activities of an inactive reservist when, as an active duty major, he could be doing something to bring our fellow Marines home alive from Iraq, and use an expletive to express my displeasure with his waste of military resources. The next communication that I received from the Marines was a letter explaining their intent to charge me under the UCMJ and separate me with a general discharge, which theoretically would disqualify me from any education benefits and make me liable for the money that I had previously received through the GI Bill. There were 2 other Marines in the IRR who were subject to the same harassment at the same time. The way that the Marine Corps Mobilization Command came after me was illegal, the decision of the separation board was legally faulty, and it was a clear-cut case of political harassment. Although we were able to achieve what seemed like wrestling things to a tie, the Marine Corps was able to send 2 very strong messages. We don't want you speaking out against the occupation, or even portraying the reality of everyday life in Iraq, and even if you're in the inactive reserves, we can still control your fate. I spoke out within my rights and was punished. To my knowledge, none of the officers responsible for this unnecessary waste of military resources were ever held accountable. Jeffrey Millard.
I returned from Iraq in October of 2005. I returned from active duty going back to the National Guard where I was before my activation. Normally National Guardsmen are given 3 months. I ended up with 5 because my unit that I was in beforehand was no longer in existence due to reorganization of the Guard. The unit that I was in Iraq was reorganized. I became very active in Iraq Veterans Against the War in that time period. I did an event on March 19th of 2006 with Michael Stipe of REM at a concert in New York City. My photograph was taken, it was all over the internet, and that week I found out that I did receive a unit to go to. As a good soldier, I went into that unit to find out what my duties and responsibilities at that new unit would be. When I reported to that unit, I saw pictures of myself from that event with Michael Stipe with a target painted over my face. I was then told that weekend that I would need to report to a rifle range for rifle training. I left that day, and it forever changed the way that I looked at the military, and especially at the way that my chain of command existed. The military faces not just prosecution for our speaking out and our being whistleblowers, but also persecution. We face a level of persecution that no civilian job faces because we cannot quit. We cannot walk away. We are bound to be there. And to this day, not one of the commanders that initiated and allowed this intimidation and threat on my life to happen has ever been brought to accountability. Thank you for the time.